Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. Astral Pets Store. Author by Ancient She. Audio novels by Novelist. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 86. Fall. The lightning rat received Su Ping's orders and felt the old experiences of going through all the hellish lessons coming back. In the next second, it coated its fur under lightning bolts and entered full concentration. Thunder shadow image. After another flash of blinding light, two more lightning rats joined the battle. The all-round thunder prison they unleashed had its range tripled and almost covered the entire stage. A large thunder strike came down upon the thunder basilisk and swallowed it up. Infuriated, the basilisk spat out a fire beam to fend off the lightning bolt. The conflicting attacks created quite a beautiful sight to behold. Whoosh! As Su Ping instructed, three lightning rats dashed toward the basilisk from three directions while preparing different skills. Yi Hao grinned and silently applied an astral rune onto the basilisk's body. This one was meant to speed up the creature's energy output. The basilisk aimed its whip-like tail at the closest lightning rat. With a poof, the shadow was destroyed. The energy brought by the thunder rush and the thunder armor was also detonated like a bomb. Still, such energy was not enough to break through the basilisk's hide. Next, the basilisk shot out another fire beam which overwhelmed another fast-approaching shadow. The attack melted all the ice in its way and made the whole area look blurry. The lightning rat was quickly losing control of the shadows it created. It was expected that the shadows would get hit that soon. This is too easy, Yi Hao humphed in disdain. He knew those rats were fake, but he'd get rid of them nonetheless so his opponent wouldn't hide smart tricks in them. Wait, where's the real one? The lightning rat was occasionally blinking out of existence as it used thunder flash to move, preventing everyone from knowing its exact location. Thunder Flash was one of the 10 most powerful secret arts available to the Thunder family, which was said to allow its user to almost unpredictably teleport around. A pet unable to catch the rat could only bear its rapid assault like a stationary practice dummy. But in this case, the Thunder Basilisk was extremely tough thanks to its superior dragon blood. Maybe the rat could knock off more of its scales, which wouldn't hurt at all. Petty tricks are nothing compared to true strength. Yi Hao smirked again. The lightning rat appeared right above the basilisk's head and made another flashbang before the basilisk had time to react. When the basilisk was too blinded to defend itself, the rat clawed at its opened maw. People heard another thunderous roar from the basilisk. But this time, it sounded in pain. Yi Hao regained his sight and saw a large gash almost splitting one side of the basilisk's mouth. If the wound was any deeper and reached all the way to its neck, the basilisk's jaw would have come off. The lightning rat reappeared several meters away and gazed at the basilisk carefully. There was blood and the residue of some gray energy lingering on its claw. What the rat used was not a lightning attack, but Claw of the Undead. This energy-enhanced attack was enough to harm the basilisk where its defense was weak. Got you. Su Ping smiled in satisfaction. Everything happened within 5 seconds so nobody knew how the seemingly losing lightning rat suddenly gained the upper hand. It was the turn for the thunder basilisk to look pitiful. What just? The settlers were just as dumbstruck as the students. They saw the lightning rat using the same moves as before, but in a completely different way. Such an ingenious tactic had improved the effect of Thunder Rush several times. Xuanhuan just couldn't believe that the battle could turn out to be this easy for the lightning rat. She only saw her partner rushing there and using its claw in a direct attack, and everything was done. Yi Hao spent a moment looking at his wounded pet and suddenly showed a cruel look. Roar! The thunder basilisk screeched hysterically and floated in the sky. It gathered the intense power of lightning until its entire body became a shining globe. Then the creature aimed its attack at the place where Xuanhuan and Su Ping were standing. No. Xuanhuan immediately knew what Yi Hao was trying to do. He was forcing the lightning rat to protect its master from the attack. As an offensive pet bad at defense, the rat would get into serious trouble at this rate. To make it worse, the effect of frigid brine had locked up Xuanhuan's feet. The basilisk could have frozen her to death if its master instructed it to. You asked for it. Su Ping frowned. He had more than one way to kill the basilisk back there but didn't find that necessary. But then, he sent another order to the lightning rat, who responded by showing a bloodthirsty look. Yi Hao asked the thunder basilisk to go into the sky so the lightning rat couldn't reach it. But this was no longer helpful when the rat could use thunder flash to freely and rapidly go where it wanted. The rat reached the basilisk's bleeding mouth in a millisecond and unleashed several attacks at the same time. Bloodthirst bite, claw of the undead, and finally, thunder slash. Boom. The healthy side of the basilisk's mouth exploded. Losing focus, it had its skill interjected and allowed the lightning rat to see another opportunity to attack. The rat jumped onto its back and used thunder rush. The basilisk was hurled toward the ground as if it were being knocked away by a hammer. The falling momentum made a large crater on the stage floor and caused the entire stadium to quake. As the clouds of dust settled, people saw its tail helplessly slumped over the edge of the crater, while its body was further below. For a moment, the stadium stayed deathly quiet. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 87, An Uncrowned King. The Thunder Basilisk lost the match. At this very moment, the once majestic creature had collapsed inside the pit in an extremely unpleasant way. Most of its scales had cracked up and blood came out from all over its body. It didn't move at all, it was probably unconscious. Nobody made a sound because they couldn't accept the sight before their eyes. Their previous belief was that a 7th-rank Thunder Basilisk making a debut in the Academy's tournament was illegitimate by itself, because it would squash all the other pets with ease. In the end, another pet had been against such an outcome. A lightning rat, who had recently lost a match against the basilisk, at that. How in the world did the Thunder Basilisk lose after it just broke through to another rank? The owners of the combating pets, Yi Hao and Xuanhuan, were both left awestruck on the stage. The match ended too quickly and they didn't have nearly enough time to take in everything yet. Through their connection, Yi Hao knew that his Thunder Basilisk had fainted. Obviously, his 7th-rank dragon-type astral pet had been knocked senseless. Obviously. How come? How come? Yi Hao madly repeated the question in his mind. Similarly, Xuanhuan found it too difficult to accept reality. She should be glad that his lightning rat turned out to be the winner. Still, she didn't feel the joy of it at all. She wasn't the one fighting the match. Fizz. Fizz. The lightning rat emerged from the crater with 2 swift leaps and happily toddled her way. At this moment, Xuanhuan remembered that she had to do something about her frozen legs, or she would lose them if her muscles were damaged. Quickly, she channeled some astral power to thaw herself out. Crack. She heard another cracking noise and saw Su Ping doing the same, although he seemed rather relaxed for some reason. The ice on his legs came off as he took a step forward, just like that. Xuanhuan found her mind bloated with too much confusion. That was a skill from a 7th-rank Thunder Basilisk. He broke out of it like it was nothing. The settler guests were the first ones to recover from the unbelievable display, though they didn't look any less surprised. They could see that both pets were using their full strength back there, which meant the Thunder Basilisk would have emerged victorious if nothing went wrong. Well, something went very wrong indeed. They had witnessed how irregularly strong the lightning rat was during the previous matches. Nevertheless, there should be a limit to the creature's true potential. People thought they had seen the creature's cap when it lost against the Thunder Basilisk the other day. And it wasn't a feeling of disappointment. On the contrary, they still considered the lightning rat to be an exceptional miracle. That day, however, they might need to review that idea. That rat is fighting a little bit differently, I think, a settler commented with a serious look. His partner nodded. Agreed. The skills are the same, except for the Thunder Rush. But it suddenly learned how to make better use of them to gain the upper hand, especially at the end. Thunder Rush is a supportive skill used for moving faster. Yet it somehow used its power to knock the basilisk off the sky. Such creativity. It reminds me of all those veteran astral pets who have gone through many battles during barren land expeditions. Fast, accurate and deadly. But experience alone can't help it counter the Lear skill. How did it manage to do so? The lightning rat's strength didn't change. The tactics were different. If I'm not mistaken, Xuanhuan wasn't the one issuing commands during the match. It was a woman talking this time, who attracted everyone's attention with those words. Take a closer look at the young man next to her. Both of them were affected by the thunder basilisk's frigid brine, yet he already freed himself, while Xuanhuan is still trying, as you can see. The woman threw Su Ping an inquisitive look. She didn't show it, but she was very startled to see someone walk out of the ice trap as if he were shaking off some insignificant cobwebs. Even though they weren't the main targets of the thunder basilisk, what Su Ping did hinted at his extremely rich astral power reserves. Probably of the 5th rank or higher. With that kind of age, he was undoubtedly more talented than Yi Hao. I see. The other settlers saw the same thing and all agreed. So, that young man is not from someone's family, but Xuanhuan's helper. TSK. He looks even younger than Miss Su. By the way, Mr. Vice Principal, which class is he from? Dongming Song frowned in confusion. I don't remember. Is he from this academy at all? As the vice president, he knew every outstanding student in this institution. Yet he couldn't remember seeing that young man. Could that be a student who always stayed low among people? That was good news though. There would be another brilliant genius under his watch. Who's his professor anyway? He muttered to himself. I'm going to remove his bonus for failing his job. On the stage, the judge made sure that the thunder basilisk wasn't moving any longer and gladly announced the winner of the match. It took some time for the audience to start applauding, which lasted a long time until the loud cheers could be heard miles away from the stadium. That night, the famous lightning rat had put up another wonderful performance no one was expecting. None of the common spectators clearly saw how the rat had beaten the thunder basilisk, although that wouldn't change their opinions regarding the awesome creature. Dazzling fireworks marked the end of the festivities. The wounded thunder basilisk and Yi Hao were gradually forgotten over the course of the celebration. The result of the exhibition match did nothing to affect his championship or his award money, yet people were not going to see him as an actual champion, that much was certain. To make it worse, he did tell his basilisk to go all out. Nobody would believe him if he were to say that he was going easy on the lightning rat because it was supposed to be an exhibition. Brother. Yi Qingyan gave her brother a worried look. The yelling crowds, the beautiful light shows and the joyful atmosphere had made Yi Hao's lonesome figure look even more miserable. Yi Qingyan had always respected her brother since her childhood. Seeing him like this, she felt overrun by unbearable sadness. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 88. Special Admission. Someone wants to see us. Xuanhuan and Su Ping had yet to get off the stage when a manager of the academy walked over and invited them to the office building, saying that an important man was expecting them. Xuanhuan more or less knew who this important man was, since she had met him many times when her lightning rat made its name. And she felt excited to find out what kind of commendation she'd get after her rat's brilliant performance. She had only spent 10,000 astral coins at Su Ping's shop to train her pet, which rewarded her greatly by instant defeating a 7th-rank thunder basilisk. Whenever she thought about this, she couldn't help but feel grateful. Then she was terrified when she saw Su Ping already seated while helping himself with some hot tea. This was the vice principal's office. Xuanhuan felt it hard to stand properly while waiting for the vice principal as it was. And yet, Su Ping was already making himself at home. Get up from there, she quickly urged. She wouldn't want Su Ping to leave a bad first impression. Su Ping was looking in another direction while checking the painting of a purple-tailed divine phoenix on the wall. Just like the statue at the academy's gate, this one also seemed to be the work of a master. Only, the phoenix didn't look as awesome. It was only a beast king, after all. What? Su Ping heard the warning and slowly stood up, for he thought Xuanhuan was calling him. The vice principal will be here soon. You don't want him to see you like that. Su Ping sat down again. What's the big deal? Someone asked me to come, only to keep me waiting. It's not like I need to ask for any favors. You know what? I'll just leave if he doesn't show up soon. Xuanhuan decided not to argue because it made sense. Besides, the vice principal was probably asking for her. He didn't know who Su Ping was or care how he behaved. Someone's coming, Su Ping said as he pricked up his ears. At the same time, Xuanhuan heard footsteps approaching and her heart skipped a beat. She quickly straightened herself at a seemingly proper spot beside the sofa. The door of the office was pushed open, but no one came in. It seemed that whoever had just arrived was taking his time to check what was going on in the room. Me. Mr. Vice Principal, sir. Xuanhuan quickly uttered upon seeing not one, but several mighty figures outside, which only doubled her mental pressure. As someone who had recently gone through a lot in the academy, she managed to show her good manners by smiling politely. An old man walking in front of the group nodded back with a kind smile and searched for the other guest in the office, only to see Su Ping's head partially hidden behind the back of the sofa. He wondered how Su Ping would react if he, as an elder, gave him a kind reminder to not slack off like that when someone important was present. Welcome, Mr. By doing this, Dongming Song meant to both announce his arrival and tell his assistant to leave. Su Ping stood up so he didn't appear too ill-mannered. He was a little surprised to see a total of 7 people waiting behind the old man. Every one of them more or less had battle scars somewhere on their bodies. One of them even had the tip of his nose cut off, which gave him a horrid skeleton-like appearance. This man would surely scare kids out of their minds, that much was certain. Greetings. Su Ping nodded slightly. The simple response puzzled the visitors. This probably meant that Su Ping didn't recognize the vice principal. But how? They realized that the young man they were looking at was not a student of the academy. Dongming Song thought about the same thing and felt his mood drop. Are you a student here, my boy? No. Su Ping shook his head. The other visitors quickly made up their own plans. Meanwhile, Dongming Song felt greatly disappointed since he no longer held the right to decide which team could accept Su Ping. Su Ping's presence meant nothing to the academy as things stood. A woman with red hair spoke up, judging from your age, you're a first grader, am I right? Which school are you studying in? I'm not currently receiving any teaching. You. What? As they previously discussed, this young man could be a better talent than Yi Hao. Someone like this had no proper education. Dongming Song's eyes glimmered. What's your name, young man? Are you perhaps interested in coming here? I can grant you free tuition, living expenses, an independent dorm and even an advanced astral pet pup upon your graduation. Or even an adult one, if you have good scores. What do you say? If you say yes, I can finish up the registration today so you can start your lessons tomorrow. Dongming Song spoke too fast, never giving the others the chance to say otherwise. Right then, they could only throw their hateful glares at the old man's back. Meanwhile, Xuanhuan listened with a look of disbelief. The vice principal is inviting Su Ping to the academy. Free of charge, a good pet as a gift. Why have I never heard of any of this before? Reduced tuition was a commonly seen welfare usually provided to brilliant students. But not even the top scorer could simply get an advanced pet for free. Xuanhuan started to wonder if the old president was in his right mind that day. Besides, she should be the one under the spotlight. Why was everybody looking at Su Ping instead? Did they already find out that Su Ping was the trainer of the lightning rat? On the other hand, Su Ping was rather discontented by the offer. Luo Guxu had already invited him to become an honorary professor in the academy, yet this old man had offered him a lower spot. I'm sorry, but no. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 89. Invitations. Both Dongming Song and Xuanhuan were agape after hearing the response. No. This was the Phoenix Peak Academy. Countless people would pay with their lives to be admitted. The vice principal directly invited Su Ping and provided many bonuses, but he actually refused. And he didn't hesitate in the least. You. Think again, please, Dongming Song tried. Su Ping shook his head. He did consider accepting Luo Guxu's suggestion, though he had yet to reach a solid decision. As for becoming a student, definitely not. Dongming Song's eyelids twitched at the absurd play-out of events. Not even Yi Hao, the top ranker in the academy, enjoyed such privileges. He had already gone over the line by presenting those generous offers. He might have needed to talk with the president later to seek approval later, otherwise, he'd be paying the expenses himself. He never thought his offer would be rejected like this. A bulky man stepped ahead. "All right, Mr. Vice Principal, you shouldn't force the guy since he said no. As far as I can see, an outstanding young man like this already has a dependable teacher. He doesn't need the academy. Heck, what he did back there was better than what your best graduate can do." Dongming Song knew he didn't have a say on this, so he stepped aside. "What's your name, my friend?" the big man asked directly. "How about you go first?" "Ha, you're funny. The name's Fang Bailey, as in the fang of ferocious beasts. I'm Su Ping, though my life is hardly peaceful one." Fang Bailey bellowed with laughter. "I like you, man. Can't say the same. I'm not interested in dudes." Fang Bailey choked on his laughter and stared at Su Ping. The others chuckled upon seeing their companion getting stumped like this. The red-haired woman spoke again. "Bailey, dear, you already have Su Yanying on your side, how about leaving Su Ping to us?" "Mr. Su, I'm Ji Rongying. Or just call me Ying for short. I represent a class of settler team working for the base city. By joining us, you'll receive..." Another young man beside her didn't let her finish. "Chill out already. We're all class of teams, aren't we? Besides, your team focuses on missions in class of barren areas where 6 out of 10 advanced battle pet warriors return in body bags. Are you seriously telling Mr. Su to go to that kind of place, huh? Come on, my team is the best for settler recruits as we have multiple bases established around Class B areas. If you want safer jobs, Mr. Su, we can train you in Class C areas as well. There will be teammates protecting you. I don't know about anything else, but we can make sure you stay alive while exploring. Can you now?" Another middle-aged settler smirked. "If someone tells you about being absolutely safe in the Barrens, you're talking either to a legendary battle pet warrior who can kick Beast King's ass, or an amateur who doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, we all know that Beast Kings sometimes show up in Class C areas. How can you fully protect anyone? Nonsense. How often do you run into Beast Kings in a Class C barren land? Once in several decades. And there are so many Class C areas out there. If you're afraid of that kind of stuff, you might as well stay home for the rest of your life. Nothing is impossible. Besides, my team can do all that too." The middle-aged man threw Su Ping a friendly look. "If you join us, Mr. Su, you get an advanced demon-type astral pet trained to its adulthood. You don't let another man protect you, you take care of yourself. Capiche?" Su Ping didn't have the chance to speak as yet another settler was already chipping in. "Humph. You made it as if that's something rare. Demon-type pets come in a large variety, including strong ones and squishy ones. I would step back if you promised, like, a dragon-type pet instead. That would guarantee a useful result. You talk as if you can afford one. Of course we can. If Mr. Su comes with me, I'll raise enough funds to get him a dragon-type pet within a year." "A year? Huh, so he works for you for a year before getting paid. What a smart plan you got there. It's better than your stupid demon anyway." The settlers started arguing without letting Su Ping speak at all. Su Yanying felt more and more defeated after hearing all those insane offers presented to Su Ping. She didn't get to enjoy these things by joining Fang Bailey's team. An adult demon type, that would cost at least millions. Even more, if it had good potential. She began to wonder whether she had made the right choice. Several days earlier, Fang Bailey invited her to a cafe to talk over their future plans, during which she was too excited to decline any of the man's conditions. She thought it was glorious enough to be chosen by a first-class settler team. There was no point in bargaining. Hey, guys. Su Ping tried making himself heard among the quarreling folks. "It's good and all, but you know, I've never intended to become a settler." The heated discussion was instantly silenced. You don't?" Fang Bailey stuttered. Even with that kind of skill. Su Ping's response just reminded them of something they already had in mind. There was probably someone way more powerful acting as Su Ping's backup. He didn't need to risk his life gaining fortune and fame as a settler at all. I'm just not interested in this line of work. Sorry. If it was for improving himself, he could simply use cultivation planes without worrying about dying for real. If it was for money, he had his shop to help with that. All the recent income was enough to sustain his life, unless he needed a larger budget to buy a powerful pet. And even if he did need a powerful pet, he could use the incubation pool in his shop and perhaps produce a beast king if he was lucky. He had no reason to join dangerous expeditions with settlers when he could play it safe at home. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 90. Meet Acquaintance. Are you serious? Do you know that, given your talents, joining any one of our teams can guarantee a monthly salary of over $1 million in the future? Aren't you interested? Those people frowned with clouds over their faces. They had been arguing there for such a long time, and it turned out that Su Ping claimed he had no interest. This was an opportunity that many so-called talents could never get in their lives, and Su Ping had just turned it down. Sitting on the couch, Dongming Song wore a strange look. He was having a déjà vu kind of feeling. It was like the same thing that had happened just moments before. Su Yuanying didn't know what words to use to describe her feelings right then. Su Ping had turned down the vice principal's offer and had just refused the invitations of so many top-tier explorers teams. He wasn't interested in becoming a student nor an explorer. What was his interest? Besides, Su Yuanying didn't understand what the explorers teams and the vice principal saw in Su Ping. The lightning rat had been trained in Su Ping's store. However, it was evident that the one training the lightning rat was the mysterious master trainer working for his store. It had nothing to do with Su Ping, who didn't train the lightning rat. It was unlikely that a master trainer could be this young. Could it be that those people were trying to approach that master by forging a relationship with Su Ping? Wasn't that too much of a trouble? While Su Yuanying's thoughts were floating about, Su Ping gave his answer, I am sorry. Please go and find someone else. Everyone looked at each other speechlessly as Su Ping claimed his refusal again. They were all frustrated. They had fought against each other for such a long time, but it was merely their wishful thinking. Su Ping had no desire to join them at all. Since Su Ping had demonstrated his resolution, those people could only stop trying to persuade him. Besides, they were having some worries. Su Ping was young, but he could escape from frigid brine. No matter how talented he might be, he couldn't have learned this by himself. There had to be a powerful backer. Therefore, none of them were willing to risk offending such a connection. Fine. Feng Bailey sighed. Regret was written all over his face. Ji Rongying stepped forward and handed Su Ping a card. Here's my contact information. You may not need this now, but in the future, if you're interested, you can contact me then. Our team will always welcome you. What Ji Rongying did reminded the others. They offered their contact information as well. Su Ping accepted all their cards and said, I will take my leave if you don't have any other matters. Everyone smiled a bitter smile and let Su Ping go. When he was about to step out of the office, Su Ping had an idea. He turned to Dongming Song and said, You are the vice principal, right? Can you please do me a favor? Dongming Song did not expect that Su Ping would talk to him all of a sudden. A second of surprise later, Dongming Song asked, What is it? His eyes were glowing. Su Ping had asked him for a favor. The former would then owe the latter. Su Ping went on, Promote my pet store in the academy. Tell students that the lightning rat was trained at my place. Students that want to have their pets trained can come to my pet store. By luck, he had met the vice principal. This was the best advertisement opportunity, better than what the two minions under Su Yuanying and Lan Lele could do. Su Yuanying was taken aback by Su Ping's words. This man had cast his eyes at the vice principal. The vice principal of a famous school, he was the professor and an 8th-rank battle pet warrior. The vice principal enjoyed fame and prestige in the entire Longjiang-based city. How could he help with advertising? Dongming Song was surprised as well. He didn't expect those words from Su Ping. What shocked him more was that, based on Su Ping's words, he ran a pet store and that genius lightning rat had been trained there. The explorers were just as baffled. Young as Su Ping was, he was the owner of a pet store. Was this a family business? Was that lightning rat honestly trained in his pet store? Feng Bailey thought of something. He turned to Su Yanning and asked, "What was the strength of your lightning rat like before it was trained?" Su Yanning became nervous as he asked this question. She knew that Feng Bailey valued her mainly because of her genius lightning rat. Being its master, she had some credit. However, she was well aware that she had done nothing. Before she handed the lightning rat to Su Ping's pet store, the lightning rat was just an average, low-rank lightning rat. But later on, the lightning rat had become a formidable being that had defeated a 7th-rank pet of the dragon family. Intermediate position of the 1st rank. Hesitating, Su Yanning said the truth. Lying would not get her anywhere. Given the connections and powers the explorers had, they could find out about the truth easily. Besides, she was eager to know if her strength would be recognized by them without the credit of training the lightning rat. Middle position of the 1st rank. Everyone was surprised, which was followed by silence. It was a rank common amongst average lightning rats. To train a lightning rat of the 1st rank into something that could defeat the 7th rank pet of the dragon family, that wasn't merely outstanding. It was unbelievable. Not even a master trainer they knew could have achieved this. They considered that the very best master trainers on this planet were incapable of this. "Are you sure?" Feng Bailey asked, being more serious than ever as he gazed at Su Yanning. Su Yanning answered, "Yes, I am." A ray of light glistened in Feng Bailey's eyes. He said to Su Ping, "Well, now I have to call you Mr. Su. I wonder where your pet store is. I want to pay a visit." "Sure." Su Ping took out the name cards he had prepared and handed them out. Everyone took a name card and looked at the address. It wasn't far away. This wasn't a store at a prime location and the name was mundane. They had never heard of it. "I'll be going now," Su Ping said after he distributed all the name cards. He could tell from their eyes that those people would pay a visit and might become key customers. He could make a fortune. Dongming Song came back to his senses. He said at once, "Don't worry. I will promote your store for you." "Thanks." Su Ping took off after he expressed his gratitude. The others saw him out and left as well. They had gone there for Su Ping. Since he had left, there was no need for them to stay in the office. As for Su Yanning, she had signed a contract with Feng Bailey. As far as the other explorers were concerned, she was one of them already and further talk with her was unnecessary. Everyone walked out of the corridor with Su Ping. Along the way, they would meet some teachers from this academy. The teachers would greet the vice principal and the explorers as they crossed paths. Once they arrived at the 1st floor of the office building, 2 people headed toward them. Su Ping knew one of them. It was Luo Guxu. With her was another middle-aged teacher, and they were discussing something. Sensing a huge crowd's presence, Luo Guxu and the middle-aged teacher threw a glance. Luo Guxu looked up, and this one glance surprised her. She had to check carefully to make sure that she did recognize this young man. "You are here." Luo Guxu hurried over. Her voice was filled with pleasant surprise. Su Ping nodded. "I came to watch the exhibition matches." End of the chapter. Astral Pets Store will be read in 5 chapters for every Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.